Hi, I'm Patty Blue Hayes, award-winning author of the book Wine, Sex, and Suicide, My Near-Death Divorce. I'm going to continue with the reading. I remembered where I left off because I used a bookmark. Okay. Tuesday, November 16th. A package arrived from Monica, the teal-suited attorney I have officially hired to handle the dissolution of my marriage. Seeing those words on the document sent me to the kitchen sink. Viscous, emotional vomit. I am making noises I don't recognize. Are they moans, whimpers? I don't know, but they are coming out with the tears. I'm typing on automatic. Dissolution. It's like hearing the word palliative when my mother was going through cancer treatment. You want to believe it's something else. Do I read the 9-page document that engages Monica's services to dissolve the last 17 years of my life? Or do I just sign it? My mother always told me to read every document before I sign it. And she did get screwed in her divorce papers because of a typo. So I am inclined to read it, but perhaps not tonight. My cousin Pam offered what her therapist said. You don't want a divorce. You want a marriage you cannot have. I just keep asking myself, why wasn't I good enough? Why did he feel trapped in a life that so many other men would have been happy to have? Will I ever recover from this? I wonder just how many Vicodin it would take to make me sleep for a long time, to not feel this pain. This is worse than a physical death, at least compared to my parents' deaths. He is still here, choosing to go on without me. He has a new life. I just want to sleep and make the pain go away. I have no purpose. All I wanted was to be his wife, partner, friend, lover, and life companion. While he's off enjoying his new single life, I'm throwing up in a sink full of dishes. My night ends with 2 Prozac and a Trazodone, plus a grocery bag next to me, in case the vomit rising in my throat wakes me up like it has the past few nights. What he is doing, I can only imagine. Thursday, November 18th. I didn't like how groggy I felt all day yesterday from the Trazodone. I didn't take it last night, and while I was able to sleep, Mark showed up in my dreams again. We're out with a group of people, and he just announced he was inviting a girlfriend over to have sex with him. I asked him if he could at least respect the fact that I was right there. It's too painful for me to hear him say that. Later, I see him in a YouTube video he posted of himself singing, "I'm free of you," and "I'll take the house," and "Don't want her, I got somebody new." It's so disturbing to have dreams about him and face the rejection in my sleep. Tonight is the first night I am having what used to be our couple friends over. It feels good to have a purpose to my day, and I know I shouldn't be isolating myself. It may be weird for them to see the house with subtle changes. The wedding pictures are gone, and I hung my mother's impressionist paintings in place of the paintings Mark completed during the time he was looking for work. I warned my friends that I might get a little emotional, and I acknowledged it was probably a little awkward for them to come over now that Mark and I are split. I'm planning on serving cheese, crackers, and wine in the living room. Because Mark is taking most of the furniture in there, it'll be the last time I entertain in that room. The house was built in 1925, and one of the previous owners installed built-in sconces that offered soft uplighting on the barrel-shaped ceiling. The single-pane original wood windows faced the street and our front porch, but on occasion we closed the curtains, laid down a few blankets, and made love by the fire. We felt like we were being sneaky and taking a big risk, lying naked in the front room of the house. But as we got lost in our passion, we didn't care if anyone saw us, really. I remember what it felt like to lay nestled into his right side, my arm wrapped around him. I loved feeling the rise and fall of his chest, and that I could tell by his deeper breaths when he was dozing off. Those were moments I felt safe and loved. I lit the candles and selected the music, two things that Mark usually did. I did a poor job of setting up the outdoor fire pit, another thing Mark would have taken care of, but I'll plan better for next time. The table was set with pretty china handed down from my grandmother, the remaining wedding glasses that Mark didn't take, and linen napkins that had been my mother's. I even managed to put on some lip gloss and real clothes. I put on a smile and promised myself not to engage in any talk about Mark. I refused to be one of those women. It was wonderful to hear the living room echo with laughter as I spent time in the kitchen arranging the delicate miso-glazed sea bass on a serving platter and scooping out the fragrant coconut rice. I loved being in my kitchen, listening to conversation wafting in from the living room. It was so familiar. The meal was delicious, and the evening flowed like they always did, to the back courtyard where I struggled to get the fire going. Eventually we sat around and toasted marshmallows. I do believe laughter is the best medicine. Tonight made me feel good and gave me hope that I will be okay someday. Saturday, November 20th. Another dream last night. We're split up, but on a family vacation with two houses connected by a footbridge. We see each other pass by, and I try not to look at him. Each time he sees me, he begs and pleads for forgiveness. He looks so sorry and sad. I finally give in and kiss him when he leans in. It's a tender, sweet kiss, and I'm overjoyed we're getting back together. It was sad to wake up to the cold reality. There was no kiss, no reconciliation. My life is still moving forward without him. It's been a month. How am I going to get through more time? It just keeps getting more painful as each day and night passes. He becomes more distant. My memories of his voice, smell, and taste become gray. When I return from Romania, he will have emptied out the last of his clothes and belongings. The living room furniture will be gone, leaving it empty and stark. Today I dealt with getting my car towed to the dealership to replace the alternator. I cried in the tow truck when the Norah Jones song, Don't Know Why, came on the radio. It was on our wedding CD. I thought I could hold it together, but I couldn't. The driver was nice enough to change the station. I managed to make him laugh when on the next station, a Rick James song came on and I said, that one too. I went to the mall to get a few more Christmas presents. I was teary and shaky. I got home to find holiday catalogs in the mailbox, which sent even more tears streaming down my face. I cry so often now, I don't even bother wiping the tears away. Sunday, November 21st. In tears yet again. I was able to put on a happy face tonight, but now I'm dissolved. I joined a knitting friend and her two friends in Beverly Hills at a swanky, overpriced bar where I couldn't even get eye contact from any of the men. I listened to a diatribe from one woman with bright orange lipstick who was spewing her perpetual perils of dating in LA. That was enough to send me to the local dive bar, the Snug. This small Irish bar has become my drunken, desperate hovel. I can't believe I've become that woman who goes to the neighborhood bar by herself just before closing. Meanwhile, my husband is dating. The credit card statement revealed his night at Umami Burger and a movie at the ArcLight Theater, the hip place to go see a movie in Hollywood. This small charge for 2 is much more disturbing than seeing his big spending nights out with a crowd. I'm not a math whiz, but it added up to him being on a date. How could he write me an anniversary card just 5 months ago, telling me how much he loved me, and now he's on a date with someone else? I guess you can't force someone to love you, but sometimes I feel like kidnapping him and bringing him back home where he belongs. I wonder if he'll ever miss me. Maybe at Christmas when he's around his family? Isn't there anything about our life together that he misses? I'll continue a little bit more. Tuesday, November 23rd. Yesterday, 1 month after Mark broke the news, was the day I signed the petition to the court for a dissolution of our marriage. I have to fill out a pile of papers about 1/4 inch thick, financial documents, savings accounts, personal expenses, tax information, retirement accounts, property, furniture, jewelry, cars, items we had before marriage. It's a daunting task for me, and I know where to find all that information because I handled our finances. Mark relied on me for all that. I wonder if he expects me to fill out his paperwork too? He changed his email password just as well. It was torture to see the flirty emails from the New York colleague and the picture of her in a tiny bikini in Miami. My bikini days are long gone. Monday night, I drank too much wine at Ed's house. Even made him open a $20 bottle instead of the Charles Shaw Nouveau he wanted to sell me on. We drank half that one too, washing down the roasted vegetables he made for dinner as he listened to my frantic thoughts and offered some of his acerbic wit to make me laugh. Ed's one of those gray area friends. He was mine first, and then of course guys gravitate together and do guy stuff. I hadn't wanted to intrude on his friendship with Mark, but I'm glad he's okay spending time with me. It was too cloudy to look through one of the many telescopes he has set up at his place. I could use some perspective, another time perhaps. I should be packing for my trip to see my cousin Sue up in Danville. I offered to cook Thanksgiving for her and her twin sons, Dan and Jay. Sue just completed her 6th chemo session. On Monday, she starts simultaneous radiation to her lung for a nodule that did not shrink and to her brain to stave off metastasis. I've had 2 mothers die from lung cancer, both my biological mother and my adoptive mom, who raised me, died fairly young from the disease. I don't like to be morose, but I don't think Sue will be here next year. Another loss lurking in an already dark world. Wednesday, November 24th. Mark is staying at the house to take care of the cats while I am with my cousins. I wanted the house to be super clean because he always told me I didn't clean the house to his standard. I dusted everything in sight the right way, from top to bottom. I cleaned the toilets, letting the gel bleach work its magic as I vacuumed, washed the wood floors, scrubbed the kitchen sink, and organized my office desk, which he always complained about being too messy, which it was. I left him a 5-page letter from my broken heart, letting him know how I am. I looked online at the credit card statement to see if there were any clues about how he was spending Thanksgiving. The expensive restaurants tapered off this week, but it's a holiday weekend. I'm sure tonight, the night before Thanksgiving, he'll be out partying it up, telling the funniest jokes and drinking the best whiskey. Meanwhile, I am the sole person cooking in my cousin's quiet kitchen. She spends her time on the computer and Dan in his music studio. A far cry from how I've been used to Thanksgiving. Our house was full of ingredients to feed 25 family and friends. Freshly polished silver that had been passed down from my grandparents, serving dishes, and our favorite wines from Paso Robles. The night before Thanksgiving, it was our tradition to have Mark's uncle and cousin come over for for pizza in exchange for help with chopping, sautéing, and pie baking. That's when Ed often brought over his telescope and joined the guys, playing darts in the pool house while the girls gathered in the kitchen, baking pies, while a turkey roasted in the bottom of the double oven. Over the years, more friends stopped by to sample the early roasted turkey, and it became a tradition to host the pre-Thanksgiving party. Does he even miss me at all? Or our Thanksgiving tradition we had for so many years? I'm devastated, dissolved, and heartsick. And he's probably at Barney's Beanery watching sports and playing Papa-Shot. I wonder if being in our house has any effect on him, or if he's just packing as quickly as he can, preparing for his big move on December 11th. He may get the divorce notification from my attorney on Friday or Saturday, delivered to his boutique hotel before he leaves for New Zealand on Monday. I was supposed to have traveled with him. Okay, I'll stop there because I'm gonna lose the light. And let's see, what thoughts do I have? Well, I guess I have some thoughts about boundaries because right now, as I'm recording this, I'm working on some prompted journals on shadow work after a breakup. And the one I'm just finishing editing right now is on boundaries. And in that journal, I think I was writing like, you know, there comes a point in a relationship when things go bad and you wonder like, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point? And I think the answer to that is boundaries, poor boundaries, or a lack of boundaries altogether. Because when I think back to the dynamics in my marriage in like the last few years, which were pretty volatile, I let a lot of those things happen. I tolerated a lot of the mistreatment. I tolerated the yelling. I tolerated the threats. I tolerated the, you know, him not coming home till 3 or 4 in the morning. I tolerated the snide comments and did not put down firm boundaries in place. But I hadn't really established firm boundaries to begin with. And so I think from, you know, pretty much the whole relationship, I probably didn't have a good sense of boundaries. And that's because I put his value as a person before my worth and value as a person, because I saw myself as like second fiddle. You know, I was the secondary person in the relationship, thinking that I'm being a wonderful, loving human being by doing that, you know, by being supportive, by being loving, by thinking of him, and by, you know, putting my consideration in, you know, what his preferences were. Not all the time, right? Like, I mean, I was, you know, stubborn too about some things, but in general, it was kind of like what he wanted. And so if you don't establish those boundaries on how someone can treat you, it's just going to erode and disintegrate. And that's exactly what happened. Because when I think now, like if I were dropped into a situation, right? Like, you know, a situation where there was a confrontation, I think I would be pretty shocked. I think I might even want to feel like laughing that somebody could think that they could treat me that way. So it really speaks to how incredibly important it is to have your own sense of worth and not have it be dependent on your partner and what they think of you. And some people obviously do this with, career and status. They place their value on what their career role was. Moms can do this. They see their value and contribution as the role of being a mom. And that's why when empty nest happens, it can be kind of a life crisis time, because their whole identity was wrapped up in parenting and being a mom. So those are my thoughts on that chapter, or that section. I will be back. I've been really busy putting my nose to the grindstone. I've been working on limiting beliefs around finances, and that's why I'm really kicking my butt and being motivated with writing and publishing and building up the other YouTube channel, which I'll leave the link to. That's about my life here in Panama. I started that a couple years ago, and I've been really trying to grow that channel. I've kind of neglected this one a little bit because it just wasn't growing as fast as I would have liked, but I do want to keep up with creating content because my heart is always, always, always with people who are going through the dark night of the soul or any kind of pain in life, because I know how incredibly alone I felt, and that's just the worst feeling. And to not feel understood, or to not feel like, like anyone else understands what you're going through. So I always want to reach out and let people know that I absolutely have been there and know what it's like, and to give hope that there is a beautiful life after such a devastating time. And I did not believe it for a long time. I really did not believe it, but it's true. With work, intention, determination, a little bit of stubbornness, it absolutely can happen. I'll see you next time.